The Biden administration has come under fire online for its Pride Month display at the White House over the weekend. Many Twitter users are saying that the presentation, which included a pride flag hanging in between two American flags in the South Lawn, actually violates the U.S. flag code. Critics point to the section that states the American flag needs to be in the center of any display featuring multiple national flags or pennants.
Meanwhile, the Biden administration touted having the White House's biggest pride celebration yet. On Saturday, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden welcomed hundreds of people to join in commemorating the LGBTQ+ community. He reiterated his administration's support, saying, "You are loved, you are heard, you are understood, and you belong." All right, so it seems like the argument here is that there should have been an American flag in the middle and the LGBTQIA flags flanking them on either side. I think that's a fix that I'm sure the Biden administration would be open to in the coming years. Is there more to this, Robby?
Does it apply to flags that are not national? Like the pride flag's not a national flag.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm really a single issue voter on making sure the U.S. flag code is properly observed. So, sorry, Biden. I could never support you after this.
Yeah, this does seem like, look, the kind of fringe
tan suit.
Request.
It has tan suit vibes.
It's giving tan suit.
Well, look, honestly, let's be real. Conservatives or social conservatives, some contingent of the right is very animated about trans issues or issues affecting gender. There are some areas of that where I think there's some certainly legitimate public discourse to be had about policies with respect to trans athletes in schools. But that is allowing for like a broader criticism of the entire, I guess, same-sex equality and
being
pride.
gay of it all. The existing as a gay person of it all.
Conservatives are kind of, going after the whole thing.
Yeah.
We were joking before we started about Trump and his relationship with the LGBTQ community. Obviously, there are a number of prominent gay conservatives who supported Trump in part because he was more vocally. He had spoken out on behalf of the community in speeches.
Yes.
I think he was the first. Possibly the first president to reference LGBTQ.
He was the first president to name an openly gay person to a cabinet level position.
Richard Grenell.
He has bragged about, he tweeted out in 2020 when he was running the last time, that it was a great honor to be the most pro-gay president in American history. His merch store was on fleek back then. I don't know if he's brought this merchandise back, but he had all manner of rainbow Make America Great Again shirts and hats. There's this great photo op of him holding a pride flag that someone has written LGBT for Trump on it. The T in LGBT is for Trump in this alternate universe. And it is interesting to also hear him say recently in that clip from, I think, over the weekend, kind of ruminating on how weird it was that his own audience has become so invested in the trans issue as a motivating force when in prior years it was a completely non-issue. And you hear Trump saying, "Yeah, it's kind of weird, you guys." Like if I say something about inflation or the deficit, I get tepid applause. If I throw the word trans out there, which you didn't care about 5 years ago, you're roaring in the bleachers. And
Trump has had events for LGBT conservatives at Mar-a-Lago, if not the White House.
Yeah.
So this is a long way of saying that I guess pride feels especially political. I mean, this is not the first year of Biden's presidency either, but it's I don't know. It was okay from a conservative standpoint to some degree to be expressing pride when Trump, because Trump didn't run on let's unperson the gays whatsoever.
No, he didn't. And that I think is what's concerning to so many liberal and left people is that there does seem to be it's not a shift in terms of polls or support. Overwhelming majorities of Americans support same-sex marriage. I think the poll peaked in terms of the highest percentage ever in the polls from last year, and it seems to be holding strong despite all of the rhetoric. There are some more nuanced polls around trans issues in particular when it comes to sports and what kind of medical interventions children should undergo.
Right.
But what is interesting about polls on that is that they're not especially partisan. And there's a question about whether or not those are motivating in a political context as opposed to in a kind of abstract social context. So even if you say don't think that minors should get gender-affirming care, is that the issue that you're going to vote on at the ballot box more than, let's say, not wanting Republicans to pass a federal abortion ban, or not wanting another round of tax cuts for the rich that added $1.7 trillion to the budget, which is something that Donald Trump did, and not wanting there to be cuts of social programs, Medicare, Social Security, raising the retirement age.
Well, I mean, you talk about smart political figures talk about the part of their agenda that is popular. I think conservatives correctly realized they had, at least for a moment in time, a bit of a winning hand. You have Glenn Youngkin beating Terry McAuliffe in the Virginia governor race with a confluence of frustration with liberal school-related policies, a little bit of COVID, a little bit of curriculum, a little bit of liberal overreach on gender accommodations, those kinds of things. Republicans having a winning hand on the culture war if they're playing to the normie and to the centrist.
And also there's some geographic realities of that too.
Yeah.
What you need to win a race in Virginia is not going to translate into national politics in the same way, especially as you have younger voters who are overwhelmingly supportive of trans rights, increasingly comprising a larger and larger piece of the electorate. This might result in some short-term wins for Republicans, especially in local races. But what are they going to do if they completely cloak themselves in this kind of anti-trans flag, as it were, as such a huge part of their political identity? I mean, Ron DeSantis' entire political identity right now is about being anti-woke. Can anyone tell me a thing, a policy, an economic policy that Ron DeSantis is running on other than let's politically target companies in my state that employ thousands of Floridians because they don't agree with me ideologically? Is that the economic message of the Republican Party?
Well, I mean, the message is working for Florida, but you're right. We'll see if, and right now it's the message to win the Republican primary. We'll see what the message is in the general election. We'll see if you're right, if it's gone too far to the right for a general election audience to pay attention. We'll see if it even gets to that point because he has to defeat Trump first. Meanwhile, though, what do you think is the penalty for violating the flag code? Joe Biden can't run again, right? He's going to Guantanamo Bay right now because you can't.
Well,
there's nothing to take more seriously than the flag code.
The way we're doing political prosecutions these days, maybe we could find something under the Espionage Act to get Biden on bad flag
now
protocol.
The shoe is on the other foot. What was Hunter Biden doing with flags of various countries? I don't know. Just asking questions.
All right, we kid. We're rising right after this.